This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Hey, look, very little pisses me off more than this. I've said for the last 3 or 4 years that I believe Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Now, I say that because I believe that. You may disagree with me, but I believe that. I believe Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. That's what I believe. And because I believe that, I have said very publicly that I'm voting for and campaigning for Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden is the only person right now who can beat Donald Trump. I've said repeatedly that no matter who the Democratic nominee is, I will support the Democratic nominee because Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy, and that means Donald Trump cannot ever get elected again, can never ever be in the White House again. Because I believe Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, because I believe that, if my dog were the Democratic nominee, I'm voting for my dog. If some 110-year-old dude with Alzheimer's was the Democratic nominee, I'm voting for him. I'm voting for whoever can keep Trump out of the White House. Because I believe Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Like, to me, that's easy. That's simple. That's a very basic equation. I don't give a flying fuck who the Democratic nominee is. Right now, in American politics, right now, in our system of government, right now, in our election system as we have it, in our two-party democracy right now, the only person who can beat Donald Trump is the Democratic nominee. That's it. I said this back in 2020 after I stopped my primary challenge to Trump. I remember going on CNN, and it didn't matter to me. I was asked, will I support the Democratic nominee? And then the host asked me, would I support the Democratic nominee even if Bernie Sanders were the Democratic nominee? And I said, I don't care. I don't care who. I will support whoever the Democratic nominee is, because it's only the Democratic nominee that can beat Donald Trump. We're still in that world. It's the same thing now. That's so simple to me. And I bring this up, and I'm outraged about this again, because Liz Cheney, right? Everybody's heroine, Liz Cheney, big, bad, brave Liz Cheney, was on one of the Sunday shows yesterday. In fact, she was on CNN with Jake Tapper on Sunday. And Liz Cheney, there she was, the brave heroine, talking about how bad Donald Trump is for our democracy. Liz Cheney said Donald Trump can never get reelected. Liz Cheney said Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. So then naturally Jake Tapper asked Liz Cheney, well then, if it's Biden versus Trump, Liz Cheney, would you vote for Biden? And Liz Cheney wouldn't say yes. Liz Cheney would not say that she'd vote for Joe Biden. Liz Cheney said a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of gobbledygook, like, oh, well, it depends on who else is in, and you know, I think there are going to be a lot of different names to consider, and blah, 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 blah. No. Jake Tapper asked Liz Cheney specifically, if it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and Liz Cheney, you said that Donald Trump was an existential threat to our democracy. So, Liz Cheney, if it's Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, will you vote for Joe Biden? And Liz Cheney couldn't say yes, she would vote for Joe Biden. That fucking pisses me off. That you're like 3/4 of the way home. You will not finish the equation. That's like cowardly to me. That really pisses me off. Because Liz Cheney's not alone. You know, again, the media loves one Mitt Romney. Oh, brave, normal Republican Mitt Romney. Fuck Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney didn't vote for Joe Biden in 2020. Mitt Romney, who said Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Mitt Romney didn't vote for the only person who could beat Donald Trump in 2020. That would have been Joe Biden. No, Romney voted for, he didn't even tell us who he voted for, but he told us he didn't vote for Biden. A number of Republicans are like this. Bill Barr, Mike Pompeo, Mick Mulvaney. It's a long line of Republicans who have all said Donald Trump can't never ever be in that White House again. Okay, Mick Mulvaney, if you believe that, then will you vote for the only person who can keep Donald Trump from the White House? And they don't go there. Like Liz Cheney, they don't say that. How can you believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and not then publicly say you'll vote for the only person who can keep that existential threat out of the White House? Why? I mean, it pisses me off because I've been very public and I've very publicly worked my ass off for Biden, and I'll do it again. I think Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and Bill Barr and Mick Mulvaney and Mike Pompeo and so many of these other people, they want to at least still have a foot in the Republican Party and still have a future in the Republican Party and still be relevant in the Republican Party and still maybe get elected again as a Republican, so they can't say they'll vote for Joe Biden, the only person who can keep that existential threat out of the White House. It's just cowardly. And maybe that's sacrilege right now to say about Liz Cheney. Because everybody wants to bow and worship down at the feet of Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, by the way, who campaigned her bottom off for Donald Trump in 2020 to get reelected. Liz Cheney, by the way, who did not turn on Donald Trump until after January 6th. That big, bad, brave heroine can't even bring herself to say publicly that she'll vote for the only person who can keep Trump out of the White House. I'm a fan of Liz Cheney's, but that was disappointing. If Liz, look, and Liz Cheney also said, she hasn't ruled out running for president in 2024. I'm sorry, Liz. Right now, it's all about supporting the only person who can keep Trump out of the White House. Now, that's disappointing. I'm Joe Walsh. This is White Flag with Joe Walsh. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.